This video is, I guess, I don't know, I'm making the video, so but I'm thinking the title is going to be Effortlessness is developed through external. What do I mean by that? There's a lot of people, your Tai Chi should look effortless, you shouldn't show any, muscle or external force when you're applying this stuff. Now, as it relates to that, please understand, if you're like new to Tai Chi, I don't do this system, but Chin Tai Chi. Chin Tai Chi shows explosive force. It shows speed. It shows articulation of the body. There are systems like Wu style that has fast forms where there's forces exerted and quick moving actions and lifting of the leg and all of those kind of actions like that. So those aren't even anything that I teach, but they're out there. So please understand, a lot of the metaphysical and esoteric type ideas that are pushed out there, those are not necessarily the majority of people. And in most situations, those are very much the extreme minority. You can kind of almost think of that in a way like some extreme right or left-wing political ideology, right? Very much the same kind of way. There's no, they can only see it this way, and I personally don't believe any of that. I do believe that you can get to the point where your movements look effortless when you are doing form work, or when you're doing solo postures, moving postures, or even when you're applying movements with someone, right? You can get to a point where it looks absolutely effortless. But the amount of physical exertion that you had to do to accomplish that is going to be very high. And so when I say effortless developed through external, I'm talking about muscle development, right? I watched a video recently, and the guy is saying, you have to keep your torso upright, and basically, in essence, it's like your spine is what's holding up your body. Okay, well, it is, but these muscles, right, are what's supporting the spine, which is holding up the torso. But to him, anywhere where, like he was discussing about the lumbar and the abdominals and how they shouldn't have any contraction to them. Well, even if you develop it to a point where it's effortless, you're still going to use those muscles. You're still going to use that connective tissue. It's not chi that's supporting your body. It's not chi that's lifting something up. Yes, there's kinetic energy, and we create a kinetic chain through our body. And depending on how you determine the word chi, right? To me, we have blood flow, we have oxygen that travels through the body, we have the connective tissue. All of these things work together to make this body function and do the things that I have the intention to do in my mind, right? To pick something up. Now, say, for example, this ball, right? It weighs 6 pounds. And I can pretty effortlessly move it around and not even really show much muscle contraction. Now, I'm about 165 pounds. Say the guy weighs 265 pounds and he is very muscular and young. He would even show even less effort to move this ball. Say somebody that's 110 pounds. Maybe they're just super strong. But in most situations, based on their mass and their size, muscle size, right, and strength factor, they're going to have a harder time holding this ball out or moving this ball than myself, right? Just like I'm going to have a harder time than the person that has 60 pounds of muscle mass on me and is 20 years younger. That should be realistic to anyone. But to sit there and say that you're not utilizing muscles to do something, or connective tissue is just, again, in my opinion, totally unrealistic. And that's going to make some people really upset as they watch this video, which they probably won't, because I'm not somebody that talks about those kind of things in the first place. But to sit there and to believe in your mind that because I can move my leg through and it looks effortless, or I can do this movement and I'm not showing any outward sign of muscle, that I'm not using muscles. I mean, part of it again is a kinetic chain. This structure of the body, right? Like, if my body is more like this, and some force comes to me and pushes into me, I can sink it down into my body and transfer it into the ground. If I did something like this and my leg is locked and I round my back and the same equal amount of pressure is pushed into my chest, it's going to be very easy for me to get my body pushed backwards. I have no way to really absorb it. That doesn't make it something intangible. It's the mechanics of the body, right? So, yes, you can get something effortless, right? Like, you go to do the move, and some people out there would say right now that I use too much muscle and, too much connective tissue, and I didn't use my internal energy. But my point is in the beginning, this may be really hard, and you're fighting muscles and connective tissue because they're weak, and you don't have the stability and the stabilizer muscles, because they're weak to be able to move the body, and maybe you don't have the balance and the coordination yet. But as you develop more strength, you strengthen the muscles and the connective tissue, the stabilizer muscles around the joints. I keep my joints open. I get my breathing in line with it. I have my mind focused into the movement. Then I can make it effortless, right? But that takes lots of practice, and you're gonna burn a lot of calories to do that. Okay, and for those that act like, I guess, if you get to that point, I guess to them, then you've developed internal energy. You've got this chi going through your body, and now that's what's doing it. I'm not discounting the concept of chi, but maybe it's the way that it's presented by the average person that is reading about Tai Chi, or they're expressing it. It's like there are, 56 different types of Chinese people, and there are 26 different dialects and 2 major languages, right? Pengtonghua and Guangdonghua, right? Or people would say Mandarin and Cantonese. That word that you're saying, and the way that it's translated either with Wei Gills or Pinyin, and we'll say it may not translate out to what that movement is or what that means. And so a lot of times people are interpreting something based off of a word that may be translated and it not be able to be translated accurately because maybe it was a word from this previous language, and a lot of the Chinese people would understand that word. It would be like a word that, say for example, that in your culture, a word that was used 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and it had this certain meaning. You may know what that meaning is based on, your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents, and how they, well, that's, but we used to say this and it means that, right? And, but it's not used anymore. And so somebody from another culture would see or hear that word and see how it's translated. It may mean nothing to what it meant in reality. So the same thing with a lot of the words that people like to use as it relates to Chinese, we'll say martial art terminology. So anyway, that has to do with what I'm talking about in the sense that sometimes words that mean things in the way that people think that they mean, it just may not mean the same thing that we think it does. And you don't know what dialect that word originated from potentially, right? So that's why it's, even with Chinese people, I know a Sifu that he does a lot of history and research. He reads old documents and he has to determine that what this word means based off of what the language was like at that time, right? Or what this word potentially meant to people 150 years ago versus what it would mean today and how it would translate out. And so it can be complex. But again, effortlessness to me is developed through external use, meaning I need to strengthen my muscles, my connective tissue, understand the concept of a kinetic chain, how to transfer energy out or how to absorb energy with my body, how to use my body in which to borrow and to issue force. And to me, that's learned on an external level. Now, any athlete, a basketball player, a tennis player, combat sports athlete, they can make it look so easy. They can make it look effortless. Again, natural talent, potentially, and hard work. They didn't sit there and in their mind they're sitting there going, well, I need to develop my chi to be able to, run the court and be able to, dunk the basketball. They don't think like that. They have strength and conditioning coaches. They have coaches that help them through different aspects to enhance and develop themselves. And I'm going to say that those people are more balanced than a lot of the people that do Tai Chi, meaning they are external and they are internal. To be able to, the momentum and the use of the body and the muscles in which to articulate to try to throw this ball, and then the execution of the core muscles and the driving force down to get reaction force to boom to snap this thing on the end, right? Or the tennis player and the momentum aspect of it, you can say that's external, and then the way that they engage the body and articulate the body, and then especially the abdominal, the core muscles. That's how they slice that ball or twist off this way or slow the ball down or speed it up. It's the same thing. So to sit there and think that you have to do, if you believe in something that can be explained in other ways, but to sit there to ever say to yourself that you're not going to use connective tissue or muscle in which to do something, and it's all because of something else inside of you, to me, quite frankly, is somewhat unrealistic. And if that offends anybody, it is what it is. But I think that most of the people that will watch my videos see what I'm talking about. I'm using Tai Chi on one side over here for functional fitness. We're going to develop strength, mobility, develop our coordination, our balance, our stability, and our structure. Over here on this side, we're going to utilize all of those same tools for these younger people that want to learn to use Tai Chi for application. And if you think that you need to be able to do this esoteric thing in which to execute Tai Chi movements, are wrong. Again, if you look at things like Chin Tai Chi, right, where there's explosive elbows and shoulder strikes and punches and jumping movements, right? That is more than likely it is the original Tai Chi, right? And to sit there and say, because these things came about in the last 100 years, right? We're going to take out the hard movements. We're going to take out the jumping movements. We're going to take out the speed movements, right? So so they did that to turn it into a health practice in a way, right? And then in the 1950s, then they created some small routines in which to do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with those, and I think that they're great. But for those to sit there and attach these esoteric ideas on top of that, when this is purely to improve the health of the people, that's the way I see it. I see that the Yong Fu, he stripped these certain things out of his family system, and then he shared that out to the public. Now, their own internal family systems are informed in a way that they apply things. They kept that for themselves. You know, there's people that know that stuff, but I guess my point is that made it for something for highly consumable for the masses. And then in the 1950s, when they made like the Yong 24, for example, and the 32 sword form, and the 88, right? They based those off of Yang Tai Chi. Those were designed purely for health and wellness. You could say functional fitness. They weren't designed for application. So I guess if I'm making that make sense, you have all of these different strains of Tai Chi. Don't let one person sit there and tell you that you have to do these esoteric things in which to be good at Tai Chi. You don't. What you need to be able to do is have really good body coordination. In the beginning, you're using hands and feet. Next, I'm going to lead with my waist. Right? I'm going to lead here first. This is going to judge the timing of my hands and feet. And then on a later level, it goes into the muscles that attach to the spine and the spine itself. It's like you just go into these deeper layers. But that doesn't make that something magical or what have you. And again, the better the athlete, they are utilizing the core all the time. And they start to get to the point, like for example, Mike Tyson is an excellent example. He doesn't punch with his arms, he punches with his core. Everything is this, right? Everything is attached. It's the same thing, right? The more that I'm not doing like this, right? If that's considered external, if I'm doing it this way, right? And everything is attached together, would that not be internal? But because you saw a contraction of my muscle, or you saw the connective tissue contract, that now that's no good. That's not good because it's not internal. I mean, come on, that doesn't even make sense. That is hindering your own developmental growth and turning your physical development of your body into theoretical ideas. So, anyway, like I said, this video is not made for those that believe in those things. This video is made for people to feel, okay, I can do Tai Chi like this, I don't need that. There are plenty of other people out there that do Tai Chi the way that I do it, probably more so. It's those people that theorize like that. How about trying to teach you a group of 8 or 10 people between the ages of 70 and 80 and see if that thinking will really help them to get that foot out there in front? Or will it help them to be able to stand more erect? Or will it help them to be able to get out of this chair? They can believe all day that they're using Chi, right? But Chi's not going to help them to stand up like this, but a strong set of buttocks will. Anyway, I hope you liked the video, and I guess my whole point is I want to make a clear distinction about what I teach and why I feel that it is a really great way to go for somebody that wants to practice Tai Chi. Think of it like this, another example. If you've never been to China, between Hong Kong and China and Taiwan, I've been on 18 trips. And in the mornings, there are all these people at the park. Some are playing badminton, some are doing ballroom dancing, some are doing Tai Chi over here, other ones are doing fans or flags. And they're there to exercise. If they just needed to develop their Chi, then why can't they just sit at home and do that? Why do they need to get out there and physically move the body? Well, you could say I'm sounding dismissive or something, but I'm really not. I mean, you have to develop the physical body. And if you don't, it would be really difficult to articulate any of the movements in a real resistant situation. So anyway, I hope you liked the video, and thank you for watching.